Previously on Libel the Bible.
God creates everything.
Adam and Eve disobey God.
God damns humanity and kills everything.
God chooses Abraham to torment.
Jacob, Abraham's grandson, sees a stairway to heaven.
God renames Jacob Israel.
Israel's son Joseph becomes powerful in Egypt.
The Israelites move to Egypt and are promised prosperity.
And now, the book of Exodus on Libel the Bible.
So, welcome to Libel the Bible. I'm Scott.
That's fucked up, man.
What?
You see what I'm doing over here, and you start the show, right? You want to catch me off guard.
Yeah. Listen, some of your best work is when you're caught off guard.
So,
All right, let's move on to my...
So we finished the book of Genesis. We talked about it a little bit, like, the last 20 or 25 minutes of last episode. And today we're going to get into Exodus. Exodus 1 through 4 specifically we're going to do today. And this is the story basically of Moses, right, in Egypt. And
I was so happy to see like a familiar name. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I like him or not. I don't know what team I'm on yet, but I know the name.
it's a little bit of a feeling of home, like...
All right, so let's talk about Moses real quick. I'll tell you what I know. He was the guy that came down with the mountain, right?
He came
with
down
commandments?
with the mountain. He came down.
with the commandments, and he parted the Red Sea
Yeah, he came down with the 15 commandments.
and dropped one, right?
He dropped one, and he was like, "Oi, 10 commandments."
He's also the guy that parted the sea, right?
He parted the Red Sea.
I think that might be...
Well, I'm sorry. In fairness, I don't know if he parts the Red Sea or God parts the Red Sea.
He's known for it.
Right. He's right. He's the instrument of God.
Right. So, okay, so that's really, I think, the only two things I know about Moses.
Okay. So, every Easter, the 10 Commandments comes on ABC.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been on for I don't know how many years, but since I was a child
6,000?
in the early 80s, it's been on TV every single Easter.
I've never seen it.
So the 10 Commandments is basically Exodus. So we're definitely going to have to do the 10 Commandments for our Patreon when we set one up.
Oh, okay.
Maybe after we have one picture up on the website, which I saw you put up. And then I also saw the little comment that you made about Rusty passively aggressively suggesting that you do something with the website, even though Rusty was more than passive aggressive for a month and a half, where he was directly saying, "Scott, do something about the website, at least put up a picture."
Good one.
So Scott finally puts up a picture, and he's like, after Rusty passively aggressively, I sent him a text with a picture of our website, which was basically the definition of libel. That's our website was a white background with the literal definition of the word libel for 3 months now. So now we have some artwork up and not much else.
You didn't see my 1990s era gifts?
If you want to check it out, go to libelthebible.com, look at our beautiful artwork and nothing else.
Artwork I had nothing to do with, by the way. So.
And then when you're done looking at that piece of shit, go to our Twitter. We're at Libel the Bible. And tell us what you think of Scott.
No, let's not do that.
Yeah.
All right, let's do, what do I think? So my selection tonight is a Malbec. Argentinian Malbec.
I like Malbecs.
Yeah. This one's the same guy, JamesSuckling.com, 91 points.
All right, we're not getting paid for that, right?
No, and really not.
Then why? Who gives a fuck?
Well, I just want to know. I don't know.
All right, so I mean, good. If it tastes like shit, you're gonna let us know,
And
right?
it's a twist off cap,
Oh,
which I
really?
I didn't realize it when I purchased it. But let's see.
I don't think I've ever had a twist off wine.
Right?
How's it smell? Yeah, let it. You have an
so it's-
aerator?
No, I do, but I'm not going to go down and get it. I'm going to just.
Okay.
All right, yeah,
so
let's start this off.
Exodus 1.
Exodus 1.
So all of Genesis was pretty much God telling Abraham and his descendants, you guys will spread across the earth. You're going to be a powerful nation. Mm-hmm. And so Joseph finally becomes powerful, and he sends for his dad, Israel, and Israel arrives with his entire clan and servants and blah, blah, blah. And that's how the book ends. So it seems like finally, the Jews, or not, I'm sorry, the word Jews is not mentioned, Hebrews or Israelites, which seems interchangeable.
Well, nobody's an Israelite right now, right? Just his sons, right? Because he's the original Israel, right? So everybody that's born of him is going to be an Israelite.
Are all of his descendants,
right?
And the tribes.
Yeah.
So the tribes, remember, his sons are going to wind up getting scattered, and then eventually, like, their tribes are the tribes of Israel.
Wasn't there a tribe called Quest?
There was a tribe called Quest, but I think they were more Western African than Northern African.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They were, though, very Afrocentric.
I thought they were American, but okay.
Well, then you haven't listened to the music, really. I mean, they were American, but they were very Afrocentric.
Okay.
And so just when you think the Jews are going to be all right,
Hebrews,
the Hebrews, the Israelites.
But first of all, I haven't seen that they haven't been all right up until this point.
That's interruption number 1 today. Let's see how many more interruptions occur.
Sorry. I'll let you.
No. Go ahead.
I'll let you
Go
finish.
Ahead. No, it must have been extremely important. Let's hear how important this is. Go ahead.
What'd you say? I don't remember what I interrupted.
It's like a tick.
Yeah.
So what I was saying was, just when you think the Jews, this my third time, by the way, starting this.
Yes, it's kind of what I do.
Just when you think the Jews are in a haven, and I'm sorry, I keep saying the word Jews.
Right, that's why I'm interrupting you, man, because you're talking nonsense.
No, I apologize, and then you interrupted me again.
You're right. Well, so, I was already interrupting.
All right. We're already going to have to edit out like the first 20 minutes of this episode. So just when you think the Israelites are finally there, God is finally going to fulfill his covenant. All the Israelites have cut off their schlongs, or the foreskins on their schlongs, right? And God has promised them a mighty nation. And just when you think, all right, this is it. This is the beginning of the mighty nation. Joseph has gathered the tribes. They're living under a benevolent Pharaoh, it seems like. He welcomes in Jacob and all his like flock and family. Mm-hmm. The book of Genesis ends, and you're like, all right, here we go. The Israelites are, and then Exodus starts.
Okay, so let me say this. Well, you said the Hebrews are finally going to have it all right. I think they've had it all right up to this point. They just haven't had like this amazing, their life hasn't been bad, right? Nothing bad ever happens.
On the one hand, yes. On the other hand, no. So here's the problem. So materially, it seems like they've been doing okay,
they're
right?
doing fine.
But how are they always described? They're always described as like strangers in a land, right? They're never citizens anywhere that they are. They never have their own kingdom. They're always aliens to the land that they're in.
Okay, but
someone is always in charge of the land.
Okay, well that can be said about 99.99999% of people ever. Like, you don't run the shit. And as far as being citizens, like, did they even apply for the paperwork?
It's not well, there is no paperwork. They're just not being accepted. So think about it. Let's say, all right, Scott, before you start sighing, I want you to really think about what it means to be an American. You love America, right?
I guess.
What do you mean you guess?
It's a country.
Yeah. I've known you since we were like 14 years old.
I love the concept of America, yes.
Okay. You are patriotic.
I guess.
Right. The like the ideals that the Declaration of Independence espouse and the Constitution in the preamble specifically, right?
Of course,
the broad ideas of what America should be.
Yes.
Okay. Imagine having children here, and then them having children, and then them having children, and they are never citizens. They cannot be citizens. They're always going to be considered aliens or outsiders. So they're allowed to live here, but they don't have all the rights and privileges of what it is to be a citizen.
I am
That's
really
a big
glad
deal.
that there is no type of people in America that don't have, full acceptance by the.
That's not
by
what
the
I'm
American
saying. That's not what I'm
All
saying.
right. Okay. So wait. So where was Abraham from? Canaan, right?
No, Abraham
Oh,
wound
sorry,
up.
not Abraham. I'm sorry, Israel.
Yes.
Jacob, whatever his name is. He's from Canaan.
Yes.
Like why was that not his land?
Canaan was being run by like whoever, like the Hittites or whatever, the Assyrians. I don't know who the fuck was running
So
it.
basically, you're telling me these people want to rule shit. They don't have their own land.
Basically, you're not listening to me. I'm not saying anything about being in charge. It seems like being in charge is just a vehicle to them getting what they want, which appears to be acceptance, a homeland, a land to call their home. Everywhere they've been, they have been, and the term that has been used is strangers or aliens.
Aliens.
Right. So they have never had a homeland.
Okay.
They've always had to be allowed to be somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, you don't think that's a big deal?
I see that if that's the case, yes, that's a big deal. But I'm not seeing I understand the Egyptians don't like them. Does that mean everywhere they've gone, they haven't been liked? They haven't been accepted?
I don't
Like if you're not liked in Egypt, why'd you go to Egypt?
So we're using completely different terms. You're using the term liked. I'm not saying whether they were liked or not. I'm saying whether they were accepted as equals anywhere they've been.
Okay. All right.
All right.
All right.
On that note, let's start Exodus 1.
Yeah, let's because they're going to go somewhere now, right?
So Egypt is basically starting to get filled up with the descendants of Jacob and Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of them. And I tried looking up how long after the death of Joseph is the opening of Exodus. And for some reason, for the most part, people seem to say about 600 years. But then there was one site that I found that said like 70 years. So like 3 generations later. Whereas others seem to agree it was about 600 years after Joseph.
So are you going to believe 4 out of 5 dentists or that one outlier?
I'm going to believe, well, the outlier, you got to have balls, you know what I mean? I don't know. Who are these 4 or 5 dentists, you know? Are they followers?
The sheep.
Are they sheep?
Right,
no,
sheep.
I'm going to go with the lion.
Yeah, I guess.
Popular fucking stupid talking point nowadays. You know what I'm talking about when it comes to like vaccinations. Fucking idiots.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, you're such a lion.
Okay. So yeah,
Are you really a lion when everyone else around you is also a lion and doing the exact same thing? Isn't there another animal that's like that?
Is anger going to be the name of your game today?
Listen, it's time people knew what my thoughts were entirely. So, Egypt is being filled up by the descendants of Jacob / Israel.
Yes. And then, Jacob's generation dies out. A new king takes over, and the new king doesn't know Joseph, so he doesn't know he has no what do you call it? He has no care about these people, these Israelites, like the previous king did. And king and Pharaoh, are these interchangeable terms now also? Is that like Jacob and Israel?
I would say yes.
Okay. All right.
Because it does say, right? It says king.
Yeah. So have we determined that Pharaoh's a title? Was this one guy like 4,000 years old now?
So my wife, who's been listening to the podcast, she's like, I can't believe Scott had to ask that question. She's like, does he know anything about the Bible at all?
No. And I've been very clear about that.
So in Exodus 1, verse 9, the Pharaoh he starts getting very concerned about the spread of the Israelites. And he says in verse 9, look, the Israelite people are more numerous and more powerful than we. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, or they will increase. And in the event of war, join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land.
Why does he think that?
So, I mean, there is like historical evidence of the same kind of thing in this country. In the 1830s and 1840s, when abolition started becoming very popular in America, like a huge reason that people in the South, outside of the economics, obviously economics drove everything in the South, but one of the biggest reasons besides economics, you know, and racism and like a whole bunch of other things, right? But a big contributing factor was in a lot of the South, the slave population greatly outnumbered the white population. And so
yeah, sure, that makes
you
sense,
had
yeah.
like, it was like 2 to 3, something like that. It was close to 2 to 3, like 2 to 3 slaves for every like one white person living in the South.
Okay.
And so now imagine you're living in the South and you're slave owners, and now all the slaves are free and you're outnumbered 2 to 3, right? So I can understand. So I can understand the Pharaoh's concern, where he's like, or in today's world, the Republican Party. So the Republican Party is tremendously afraid of the shifting demographics in this country.
Of course, yeah.
So by like 2050 or something like that, America will be a white minority country. You know, Latinos and African Americans, when they are combined, will outnumber white people. Okay. And this is a massive problem for the Republican Party, because that is traditionally not the base that votes for them.
Right.
Latinos and African Americans. So the Pharaoh is very concerned. He's like, yo, these like Israelites, there's a lot of them,
but
they might take over.
It's a little bit of a false equivalency, because I can understand like the slaves are now freed in America. Yeah, you better watch your back. But the Egyptians, for the most part, seems like, I mean, maybe they haven't been the friendliest of people towards them, but they haven't like enslaved them yet.
Right.
Like, so there's no, like, I don't know.
I mean, he's being a little bit paranoid, but he's also being politically shrewd. He's sort of like trying to head off.
Yeah.
He's trying to head off at the pass, like, you know, these people usurping his people.
Yeah, no, I get it. All right. So he's scared.
So he does what any reasonable ruler would do. He forces them into slavery, right?
Yeah.
But
he says that they assigns the taskmasters, which is an interesting term, and they built 2 supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. Mm-hmm. Did the slaves build the cities, or did they? That's where all the bricks and the mortars and all the supplies that the slaves were going to be working with. Like, I didn't understand what a supply city meant.
I'm going to assume that he had the slaves build the supply cities.
So both could be true. They built the
and
okay.
Right. And that's where they ran the supplies from.
All right. So, yeah. So when they were being oppressed and forced into slavery, they continued to multiply greatly.
Yeah, it didn't matter. They were still fucking up a storm.
Yeah. And Pharaoh didn't like that, man. So Pharaoh ordered the midwives that when the Hebrew women give birth and the baby plops out onto the birth stool, if it's male, kill it. So, females can live. I guess he's thinking of, himself.
Yeah. So he said in Exodus 1, verse 22, every boy that is born to the Hebrews, you shall throw into the Nile. No? Not to the midwives?
No. The midwives, he told them, kill them.
Oh, right.
And they were like, they feared God, or they're conscious, and they're like, they didn't kill them.
Right, that's right.
So when the Pharaoh calls them on the carpet and goes like, why don't you kill them? He's like, these Hebrew women, they just come flying out of their bodies. So like,
we don't even have time to like
the baby's
to
born
birth
before we
them.
even get there. Yeah. So
those crafty Jews always getting away with things. Hebrews. And so the Pharaoh's like, all right, if the midwives won't do it, I'm going to have to command like my Egyptian people. And then he says in verse 22.
Let me back up to verse 20 real quick. God liked the fact that the midwives did that.
Oh, and
And
then
he showed them favoritism, and people multiplied and became strong. He was talking about the midwives, the population of midwives, or the Israelites.
No, I think what you just did was you paraphrased like that section of the Bible. I think specifically what happened was God blessed the midwives. Those specific midwives that were mentioned in those verses. I think, in other words, like he opened up their wombs, basically.
Okay, so he was talking about them, the midwives in particular. So I'm wondering, are we going to have midwivites like in the future? Like,
what do you mean? What's a midwife? A midwife-vite?
A midwife-ite, like a stalactite, stalagmite, a Hittite, a Nazarite, a Israelite. Like everybody's an ite. Once you come from somebody that's like mentioned in the Bible, you're one of those ites.
Yeah. Like a whole kingdom of midwives.
Yeah, midwivites.
So
it doesn't roll off the tongue very easily, though.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like a very powerful kingdom. Just sounds like a bunch of yentas, you know what I mean? Like talking people's heads off all day. Did you hear what Miriam said about Rose? I was at the market and Al the butcher put his thumb on the scale. You know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Was that?
I think Alice got
was that
with the butcher,
misogyny?
right? No, there was a lot of things. It wasn't just one thing. A lot of things rolled up into that.
Listen, you fucking do a podcast and talk for like, off the cuff for however long and see if you don't say something racist or misogynistic.
Right, because you're the only one here, right? You're the only one doing any talking.
I'm talking to the audience who's judging me right now. Well, fuck them.
Oh, because
I'm
right here judging you.
Fucking audience.
All right, let's move on.
So tired of like coddling them and like playing up to them like they matter. So, finally, getting to verse 22 of Exodus 1, the Pharaoh, all frustrated that Israeli, I keep saying Jewish, Israeli children keep being born, male specifically.
Can I interrupt you? You said Israeli children.
He says...
You mean Israelite? Hebrew? Like what?
Israelite children. He says... He commands to his people. By the way, how does he do this? Like, does he sit down at his desk in the Oval Office and do like an address? Does he call everybody to the palace and like stand on a balcony? Does he like send like messages?
I don't know how they decree things
with like ravens out, like in Game of Thrones.
I don't know.
So he says to the citizens, "Every boy that is born to the Hebrews, you shall throw into the Nile. But you shall let every girl live." All right. I want to say one thing, and then you can comment. I understand. As insane as it is, as sociopathic as it is, his decree is to kill the boys so that they stop propagating. Fine. Okay. Is there a more humane way to do it, though, than just to chuck them into a goddamn river?
Yeah, he tried that. Kill him on the birth stool, like right there. Like, whack. Like, I don't know how you do it. But.
All right, so now he's commanding the citizens to kill them. Why can't they just whack the same way that the midwives?
Well, maybe, he says throw them in the Nile. He doesn't specifically kill them, although he does say let the girls live. So we're assuming he's like at least they have a fighting chance.
Doesn't say
they have a fighting chance.
A newborn baby being thrown into the Nile River has a fighting chance.
Don't infants like naturally swim and hold their breath? I mean, I don't know. They have a fighting chance, man.
I don't know. Let's take your infant and throw him into the fucking bay and see.
Do you think people downriver are like, what the hell is going on up there, uptown? This infant's piling up on the seashore here. Yeah.
I thought the Ganges River was dirty. Some nasty shit going on in the Nile.
Maybe they would think they're aquatic creatures just beaching themselves, like a ritual suicide. Like
maybe if they survive long enough, they'll evolve into like a new form of human. Like a fishman.
Shoot. Yeah.
Like the frogmen that Bush wanted. Remember during the War on Terror? He was like pushing hard for the frogmen. It was like a whole like special forces like situation.
Oh, I thought they were actually frogmen.
Well, that's the joke. The joke is like he kept referring to the frogmen.
Yeah. All right. He was
like
guy.
amphibious fighters.
Guy,
and I was like, don't we already have SEALs? Like, don't we have Navy SEAls?
Oh, Navy SEAls. Yeah.
So that gets us to Exodus 2.
Yeah.
And Exodus 2 is...
Birth and youth of Moses.
There you go. Our main man, Moses.
Yeah. Can I come? Let me see. So a Levi man went out and married a Levite woman. Mm-hmm. Now... that means they're from the same ancestor. So at some point they are related.
Levi was
one of the sons of somebody.
One of Jacob's sons. Levi was one of the assholes that rampaged through that town after the circumcision.
Yes. Levi and Strauss. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks for a woman that looks like him. I guess he likes that kind of thing, and he marries her, and has a son, which is
so
no
his
good.
tribe. That's the name of his tribe.
I know, but it's only like, oh, you said this could be 600 years later.
So actually, I fucked up because I have a bullet point here in my notes. Some say 300 years later. Some say 70 years. So I'm going to go with 300 because most people said 300. Yeah.
So if it's 300, they're distant cousins at most.
So yeah. So Moses is related to Levi. I think.
It's his son.
No, it's not his son.
Don't they have a son? Yes.
Not Moses.
No, I'm sorry. A Levi man. That wasn't his name. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, you're right.
So Moses is a descendant of one of Jacob's children.
Yeah.
So Jacob is Moses's like great whatever uncle. Or right? That's what or grandfather, or whatever it is.
Yeah, once removed.
So, Levi, he was Jacob's third son. He was going to be scattered. Now, when Moses was born, his mom was like, fuck, man, he's going to be murdered. So, she hid him away for 3 months.
But here's the problem I have with this. It says she saw that he was a fine baby.
Right.
And because he was a fine baby, I'm going to hide him away for 3 months.
Well, he wasn't one of those like malformed, like.
But so, how many did she chuck in the river before this one? I don't know. I guess he came out handsome and good looking.
No, when I read that part too, I was like, oh, if he wasn't a fine baby, it would have been the pillow for him.
Yeah, the pillow. There you go.
Yeah.
Or the river.
So she does what any reasonable mom hiding her kid for 3 months has to do. She puts him in a raft and she like floats him down the Nile River.
No, see, that's what I thought she did. She just put him in a basket and left him in the reeds on the bank of the river. He didn't float down the river.
Really?
Yeah. She just put him in a bunch of reeds, like in a nice, like cozy spot.
Yeah, maybe
she's hoping like a duck would sit on him so he'd hatch or something.
So how did he get in the river?
He wasn't in the river. He was next to the river. He was on the bank of the river.
But he wound up in the river eventually.
I didn't read that part. I'll pick it up from here. So now the Pharaoh's daughter goes for a bath, and her attendants are walking along, and she notices the basket on the side of the river. Mm-hmm. So she...
And you're saying it wasn't like the fact that it floated down towards...
No. I think she just saw it on the side of the river.
So here's my question then. Why would the Pharaoh's daughter be hanging out in the same spot as an Israelite slave? Like, don't they have like separate sections? You know what I'm saying? Of the river. It doesn't. That's why it seems to me like it did float down the river to get to wherever the Pharaoh's daughter would be.
Or maybe it wasn't a segregated spot and she purposely put it there in the Egyptian area.
Possible.
So maybe somebody would take care of it. Maybe this was a plan.
Sounds right. Okay.
Right, sounds good. So she orders a maid to go grab the baby. Grab the basket. She didn't know it was a baby at first. Grab the basket. They get the basket back. They realize it's a kid. The kid's crying. She takes pity on the kid and decides she's going to let the kid live. Mm-hmm. So she says, go get a Hebrew nurse. And I was like, oh, they have like RNs back then? But then I realized, no.
Are you sure she said get a Hebrew nurse, or she just got like someone someone in her court? Either way, it doesn't matter.
No, I said get a Hebrew nurse. I got that. Okay. Yeah, because it was weird because she got the Hebrew nurse to nurse the baby, and gave her wages.
That's how racist Egyptians are. Maybe she thinks like the baby needs like Hebrew milk, like Hebrews are like a different race. So, okay, so Moses goes and gets nursed by
a Hebrew woman.
Yep. And he's pretty much, it seems like he's like raised by this woman.
Yeah, so and now when he gets older, Pharaoh's daughter like adopts him. Yeah. And gives him his name, Moses. I don't know.
When he's like old enough not to be nursed, I guess.
All right, so obviously it can't be like a skin tone. It can't be like how would they not know he was a Hebrew? Like if there was physical differences
because they're registered, so they're slaves. So like the Pharaoh's daughter would know who a Hebrew was. It's not like she just went to the market and said, "Hey, there's a Hebrew."
I'm saying you can pass yourself off as an Egyptian as a Hebrew, apparently.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're human beings. They're not different species.
No, I know that, man. All right, so Moses gets older. He's walking around town, and he sees two Hebrews beating each other up.
No,
you're right. He sees an Egyptian guy beating up a Hebrew. Probably a...
Well, he basically sees like an Egyptian beating up. I don't think it was just one Hebrew. Like he was mistreating like a couple of Israelites.
Dude, if you're going to beat a Hebrew in the middle of the street, chances are you do this on the regular. Like this is just like a one-time thing. He's an asshole to Hebrews all the time.
Yeah.
So he looks around when nobody's looking. He sees nobody's around, and he kills the Egyptian.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at him.
And then buries him in the sand.
I'm not mad at him. Did they mention he buries him?
Yeah, he buries him in the sand.
You gotta do something.
What do you mean you're not mad at him? This is insanity. It doesn't seem like a proportional response to what he witnessed.
It's the buildup of all the rage of his people that his response was non-proportional. So it was
Does he know that he's an Israelite?
That's a good question.
Was he circumcised?
Not yet.
Well, look, his mom had him for 3 months, and a Jewish baby has to be circumcised or whatever, an Israeli baby, an Israelite, a Hebrew, whatever the fuck you want to call these people. They have to be circumcised. It's all right. I'm Jewish. I could fucking say it.
You got all your cards out on the table, huh?
Yeah, man. That's the privilege of being part of a group. You can be racist as you want towards them. So these motherfucking people have to be circumcised on the 8th day.
Yes.
She had him for 3 months. Was he circumcised?
I'm going to say no, because who would have done it?
Right. So he had to be in hiding. So he's not circumcised.
Yeah.
All right. He's also led a life of privilege inside the palace.
Yeah.
I don't know if does he know that he's an Israelite?
I would think no. I was thinking about that, but then he went out about town, and now he sees the two Hebrews fighting.
Right.
And he breaks it up. And he's basically
wait. Before we get to that, I want to examine. So Moses is completely privileged. He's been living in the palace. He's been like shut off from the whole like situation, more or less, it seems like.
And how does she explain this child? Like, where did this child come from at 3 months old?
The Pharaoh's got to know. Like, the Pharaoh's got to know that she took in. It's kind of like, like when politicians make abortion illegal, but then when their kid like gets like pregnant,
or their
mistress, they'll arrange an abortion for them, right? So it's like laws for thee, not for me, kind of thing. So I'm sure the Pharaoh knew that Moses was an Israelite baby. All right, so he grows up completely privileged. He doesn't understand anything about what goes on in the world, and he steps out into the world for the first time, like out of the luxury of his palace, and he's like, "Oh, are the Israelites being mistreated by the fucking Egyptians?"
Oh, okay. But then when he comes across them fighting.
After the murder, you're skipping ahead.
No, the murder's done. We finished the murder.
But I'm still on the murder. Oh. I felt like we didn't really discuss the murder.
Oh, okay. So you're saying he doesn't realize.
I'm saying he is completely like oblivious to the plight of the Israelites because he's led a life of privilege.
Wait a minute. You don't think from the palace window he looks out and sees what's going on? He's got to know.
No, I think he's like probably banging slave girls. He's playing like croquet.
The fact that
cricket.
they have slave girls, he has to know that they're being enslaved.
I don't know if they're Jewish slave girls. They could still be Egyptian slaves.
If he's claiming he doesn't know what's going on, he's either stupid or he's lying. He knows what's going on.
You're saying he's like one of those like German people where there was like a death camp like a mile down the road from their village, and they're like, we did not know. That was, again, if you go back, I've already said I want to learn a German accent. I can't do it. Fuck you. You think you could do a better German accent? Why don't you start your own fucking podcast, all right?
Dude, ratchet it down, man.
I'm just tired of the audience on my shit all the time.
Is this a preview of season 2, man? I don't know.
Well, they've retooled my character.
You're a tool, all right. All right, let's get back to the murder. So if what you're saying is true, and he doesn't know that there's a plight of the Israelites, then yes, his response to that beating was definitely unproportional. Disproportionate, yeah. But if like he knows that this guy's a jerk, and he's like, he's known for mistreating the Israelites and beating them.
I'm just saying, look. You can excuse someone for murder if they're constantly witnessing injustice and finally they snap. But this is like his first exposure to injustice.
You can understand. I don't know about excuse.
Okay, right. You're right. I can understand. But this is the first time that he's witnessing it. And he didn't witness a murder. He just witnessed some Israelites being mistreated by an Egyptian, and the first thing that he does is just murder someone. And by the way, it wasn't even out of like, it wasn't what do they call it, like a moment of passion or whatever,
right, because he didn't do it right away.
He
didn't
looks around, like he makes sure that no one, it's premeditated.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he murders the guy and then he buries him in the sand. So Moses is a piece of shit.
Okay.
Moses is like not a good person.
So far, I guess no, not showing very well.
All right, so now we get to like the next day or whatever.
Yeah, and he sees 2 Hebrews fighting. I don't know. I guess he couldn't choose which one to kill, so he breaks up the fight instead. I guess that could have been. Could have done that yesterday with the other fight. And basically, he's like, "Yo, you're both Hebrews. Why you fighting each other?" Right. So,
and then one of them is like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna kill us like you killed that other guy yesterday?"
He's like, finger in the collar like this.
He's like, "Feet don't fail me now," because he's like, "Yo, if these 2 guys know that I did it, everyone knows that I did it. Wait a second, does that mean that he thinks Jews are all gossipy and they're like blah 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 blah?" That's fucking racist, man, all right? Only I could say shit like that because I'm Jewish.
Okay, so when he breaks up the fight and says, "Yo, you're both Hebrews. Why are you fighting?" Do you think that's the first evidence of the "Back the Jew No Matter Who" campaign?
I don't know what that is. I don't know what "Back the Jew" is.
No matter who. It was like a play on "Back the Blue," no matter who. I think it was a Democratic.
Yeah, the circles
slogan.
I run with don't really have those kinds of slogans, Scott. You're gonna have to introduce me to your crowd.
We like to keep it simple. We work off metaphors and symbolism. And,
I got it. Oh, okay. Do you have a number?
Number what?
A number. Usually those kinds of groups assign numbers to people. I'm number like 3. You're number 240.
No.
I'm talking about secret societies, man, that hunt Jews and kill Jews.
They number themselves?
I don't know. I've never been hunted.
Not
yet. Not yet.
Yeah, so who made you the ruler? You're going to kill us like you killed that guy. So Pharaoh finds out, and he's looking to kill Moses. So Moses, it's time to bounce. Time to go.
He's out.
Yep.
And he takes off, man. And he winds up traveling. I forgot the name of the place that he settles. Midian. He goes to a place called Midian. And I looked up where Midian would be in today's world.
Is it like equidistant between 2 points?
That's a good guess. Yes, it's equidistant between Egypt and I'm going to say Iran.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm going to play along with all your dad jokes today, all right?
That wasn't even a joke.
No. I'm going to play along, so, I don't mind if the podcast halts, to a screech, if stops to its... You see what I'm saying? You fuck me up with these dad jokes.
It wasn't even a joke. It was just a question.
Okay. So I looked up where Midian is, and it's like in what today's northwest Saudi Arabia would be. So it's a good distance. Like it's across the Red Sea.
He's got to get out of Pharaoh's sphere of influence, because it's just word comes down.
And so
his face is in every post office in Egypt.
You think they have post offices?
I don't know.
That's how the Pharaoh's word was spread.
Oh my God! You know how Jack Diesel post office people must be?
Oh my God! Yes,
because the letters come on slabs, right? Like
so,
your route is like 2 addresses because you got these big slabs.
The Inca Empire?
Not personally.
Have you heard of the Inca Empire?
I have heard of them.
So one of the things that they were super famous for was it wasn't wide, right? It was almost like a very thin strip, like width-wise, but it ran for like 2,000 or 3,000 miles, all from like northern part of South America all the way down like the western coast, like in a thin slither. And what they were very famous for was their roads. And because of the mail, they had to get like messages back and forth, like across the empire.
Communication's key.
And so, like, those rope bridges and shit like that in South America, like there's still like rope bridges built by the Incas that are like in use today.
Communication is key. Do you think like
so those mailmen had to be like, by the way, the first marathon was a message, right?
So do you think in the Incan Empire, someone like the those people, they saw them building the bridges and they were like, those bridges cause COVID, man, tear them down.
What? I don't understand.
Because 5G causes COVID. You didn't hear that whole...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't make that connection.
Communication, yes. All right. Yes.
So he's in... where's Moses now? He's in Midian.
He's in Midian, chilling out by a well.
All right.
Good place to stop.
And Exodus 2, verse 23. He's there a long time now. After a long time, the king of Egypt died.
No, dude, you're
shit,
missing the whole point of this.
You're right.
All right, so now
I'm way ahead. My bad.
He's chilling. He's catching his breath at this well, and 7 women show up. They're the daughters of the priest, and with their flock to water their flock.
By the way, this is after he's already been there a while. It specifically said he's been there a while now.
Well, you said it was a long journey, right? So he's probably he's pooped.
No. After he's arrived, it said like that particular section. After he's already arrived. That day that he's like hanging out by the well, it was after a while. Trust me.
So he's just that strange dude that hangs out by the well?
He flees Midian and he flees Egypt and he settles in Midian. And then after a while, one day, he's at a well.
Okay, fine. He's at a well.
It's like 40 years later. I looked it up.
Okay. What's he doing for 40 years? But whatever, man. So these women come, they want to water the flock, and some shepherds try and chase them off, try and bully them out of the way. Queen Latifah here stands up to equalize the situation, and apparently he's like, no, I got this, I got you, and he helps water the flock, and they're like, hey, thanks. They leave, they go back to Dad, and Dad's like, how are you back so fast? I guess this is a normal thing. It takes a long time for these 7 women to water the flock.
You know how women are.
Oh, God.
Did you hear about Ishmael?
So when they get back and their father asks out, they told him about this man, and he goes, well, go back and invite him to dinner. So he does. They break bread, and of course, what happens? Of course, he's like, hey, here's my daughter. Marry my daughter.
He's like, wow. Which makes me think, like, what was wrong with her that he was like, first guy that comes into the house, he's like, here, marry her.
You don't know it was the first guy, though.
So here's the thing with the Bible. It seems like a sentence ends. There's got to be like a year between the second sentence and that sentence.
Instead of all these weirdly placed verse numbers that are just very weirdly placed.
Yeah.
How about we put some years, like
Yeah.
some dates, like Bible dates, star dates, something.
Yeah, because I'm almost certain, like, he didn't just show up and that night was offered the daughter, right? Like, he was invited.
I thought he was
to
at the
dinner.
well for a day. You said he was there for 40 years hanging out there.
No,
I mean, in Midian.
yeah, right. No, when he went to the well, it specifically said after a while. So I'm also assuming when he goes to dinner, when he gets invited to dinner, it's not that night that he gets offered the daughter, even though that's how it reads in this stupid fucking book.
Fine. All right, so Zipporah has a son by him, and Zipporah. Let's say Zipporah.
Yeah.
Sorry. They have a son, Gershom.
Yeah.
And then the king dies. Go ahead.
And so in Exodus 2, verse 23, after a long time, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned under their slavery, and cried out. Mm-hmm. Out of the slavery, their cry for help rose up to God. God heard their groaning.
No, not the good groaning.
Oh, God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God looked upon the Israelites, and God took notice of them. Go ahead, Scott. I mean, really, fucking... Because I'm gonna fucking blow a fucking gasket here. So you gotta fucking say some shit about this because I am fucking besides myself.
Oh, I thought you were gonna blow a gasket because I'm chomping at the mid here trying to
no, go ahead.
You.
No, please.
Oh. Okay, so do you think like he's on the couch and he turns to whoever's watching TV with him and is like, yo, mute that. You hear something? You hear something? No, I don't hear nothing. What?
You're talking about God. God.
Yeah. Turn that down. You hear people moaning? Some crying going on? Oh, shoot, the Israelites.
It's the craziest fucking thing.
But keep in mind what we agreed on. He's not all-knowing, all-seeing, all-powerful yet. That has not been determined.
Well, we haven't agreed on it. You keep bringing up the fact that it hasn't been mentioned that he's all-seeing, all-knowing, all-powerful.
Yeah.
But I'm going to argue that he is all-powerful, and I don't know if he's all-seeing.
You got to stay in universe.
He's definitely all-powerful.
Well, you're not...
I think
he's got a lot of power. We'll give him that.
You will not win this argument. We can have the debate right now. He fucking created everything, and then he can control people to do shit. I would say that's all-powerful.
All right, so maybe he doesn't pay attention to everything, though. Maybe he just sets things in motion and goes about his business.
All right.
Yeah.
So yes. So if anything...
You hear that? It's the Israelites.
Let's dispel... So, okay. When we started this podcast, you were like, I want to argue, or I want to learn about what's really going on in the Bible.
You wanted to argue, so you just projected that.
So I can... have like counterpoints to the things that people are saying. Well, the next time people argue with you about God's like omnipotence, you have like all of this evidence that he's really not all that fucking omnipotent because he's got to constantly be remembering shit. He completely forgot about these people. It's been 300 years of like slavery and he's like, oh shit.
That could be like a nanosecond in God time though. Give the guy a break, man.
You would be the worst improv partner because it's always a no from you. I was literally just arguing, like I was literally just saying what you were joking about, and you just now were like, no, that's not what it's like.
All right, so God took notice.
Yeah, so finally God's like, oh shit, I forgot about my covenant.
Right.
So now I remember my covenant.
Yeah, I remember the covenant, so I guess I got to do something. So it brings us to...
I'm sorry, air quotes, I got to do something, because it's never God, right? God never just, like, does something. He's always got to, like, torment somebody to do something.
All right.
So, right, what? Like, he's not tormenting people?
Listen, man, this is not a God-bashing podcast. What? So Moses at the burning bush. So I said earlier that two things about I heard of the burning bush. I had no idea what it was or who was involved with it. So I didn't change that like that. I didn't know that was
there
Moses.
was this chick back in the day, man.
Whoa. Just go to the clinic, get that shot. It clears it right up.
So you did not know it was Moses in the burning bush.
No, I did not. I don't even know what the burning bush is until now.
All right. What do you think the burning bush was?
A peyote trip? I don't know.
I mean, it seems reasonable, right?
Yeah, until you find out the truth.
Oh, what's the truth, Scott? Tell us.
That angel of God appeared to Moses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't understand this.
Yeah.
In a flame of fire out of a bush, but the bush didn't burn.
Mm-hmm.
How big is this bush? Like, I think of a bush, I think like a small bush, maybe a hedge. I don't know, like a bush, it's small, right?
I'm going to say waist high at most.
Okay. So the angel appeared, like, was he really small? Because at one point, Moses investigates the bush to see that it's not burning, and God's like, hey, Moses, over here, I'm right here. Here I am. Like, did God show up real small?
All right. Appear. For some reason, when I read the word appear in this context, I don't think it's like a physical manifestation necessarily. Like appear, it's almost like a lot of times when you're on psychedelics and you hallucinate, you're not hallucinating like outwardly. Like I'm not seeing like a 3-dimensional hallucination like in front of me. It's like a hallucination inside of my head, like inside of my brain.
Maybe you need better product.
So, well, if you give me a number, Scott, I'm more than willing to fucking try it. So I think when an angel appears, it's kind of like that. It's this more nebulous,
all right, fine.
you know, like thing, not so much a physical manifestation, but it could be a physical.
I think it is because in that documentary Contact, Jodie Foster said if we're going to contact the Vedeans or the vegans, and if God should be involved, the message should have taken the form of a burning bush.
Yeah.
So,
well, maybe she was full of shit because she dropped straight through the machine and nothing happened whatsoever, and no footage was erased at all.
fake news.
So, there's this burning bush, and Moses is there, and
he kind of goes to investigate, and God's like, stop, no closer. Take your shoes off. This is holy ground. Don't come any closer.
Yeah. God's one of those fucking take your shoes off people.
Which is fine. It's his house. I don't care.
Well, you know what? You got to let me know ahead of time, so I'm wearing socks with no holes in them, or you know what I mean?
There's a great episode of this show I never mentioned called Family Guy, and there's a guy in Cleveland. They go over to somebody's house, and they're like, take your shoes off. And he's like the last one in, and he's like, I got to leave. I have embarrassing foot odor. He just comes out, he doesn't lie. But yeah, heads up would have been nice.
I mean, it's nice that this takes place outside, so Moses might not have to worry about like his foot odor.
And plus, they're sandals. They're open air shoes.
So God's one of these like take your shoes off kind of fucking assholes, and he calls Moses over, and he says in Exodus 3 verse 7, I have observed the misery of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry on account of their taskmasters. Indeed, I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them from the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey.
Okay, so when I read that, I went, oh, shoot. Broken glass everywhere. They don't know rap tune? No, you know what a tune. It's like classic. He mentions the land of milk and honey.
Yes.
And
That's a famous phrase.
I did not. See, okay, but now that came from the Bible. Yeah. That'll be on the Revelations page of the website.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was a Bible phrase either. I read it and I was like, oh, it's a Bible phrase. What's the song?
Oh, man, it's famous.
Like from what era? The 80s? Like 80s,
late 70s,
90s?
early 80s?
And it's a rap song?
Yeah, come on, everybody knows it. Everybody, like, it's just on the tip of my tongue, man.
You don't want to sing it?
I just did. Broken glass everywhere.
That's...
Gangsters, but no,
what do you call it?
Rapper's Delight?
No,
not Rapper's Delight.
That's the one where he's losing his mind.
Yes. It's a
Is it
strike
the
at the
message?
station.
It's the message.
Oh, maybe it's the message.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll get back to it.
That's not African Bombada. Is it African Bombada?
No, it's Africa Bombada.
Africa Bombada.
But not spelled like Africa, the continent.
Okay. Don't push me, 'cause I'm close to
There you
the
go.
edge.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Not to lose my head. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
All right. There we go. We worked it out, baby.
Nice.
And they mentioned milk and honey in that?
I'm sure they mentioned milk and honey in that song.
All right.
The land of milk and honey.
So that gets us to the section titled The Divine Name Revealed. Because Moses...
Wait a minute.
No, you got more?
Well, God in the bush tells Moses, I'm going to send you to the Pharaoh to tell him that you're bringing the people out of Egypt. Fade to black.
Okay.
Right? Now the divine name is revealed.
All right. So Moses is like, yo, I can't just go back and be like, I talk to God. People are going to want to know, like, what your name is.
Yeah.
And so he asked God his name. And in Exodus 3, verse 14, God said to Moses, I am who I am. He's like Eminem,
Whatever you say, I am.
Right.
Yeah.
I am who I am.
We're not breaking out into rap again.
He said further, thus you shall say to the Israelites, I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, thus you shall say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. Now, when he says the Lord, apparently that's a translation. The Lord representing, I forgot the name for this. It's like a tetrahedron, the YHWH, the Yahweh. So the Lord's name is Yahweh, the Lord.
I was wondering how that pronounced.
Translates
I clicked on that footnote.
as Yahweh. And it's called like a tetrahedron.
Isn't that a shape?
A tetrahedron?
It's a shape.
Yeah, it's a shape.
His name's a shape?
Yeah.
He's the first prince?
The
purple one, not the first prince of Prince. The artist formerly known as Prince.
Because of the symbol? That was more of a symbol.
Okay. Well, symbols are shapes. Everything's a shape.
Well, a symbol's not... Well, right. Everything's a shape, I guess. Right. And so he reveals his name as Yahweh, which I know, you're not allowed to say it. You're not allowed to say Yahweh.
Did you just bring craziness?
Yeah, Yahweh, Yahweh. It's
3
like
times in a mirror?
Beetlejuice, right? So,
Candyman, right? Candyman was like that too.
Jewish people do not say Yahweh. They do not say the name of God.
I've never heard you can't say that. I always say, don't take the Lord's name in vain. But
well, that's Christian. You can't take the Lord's name in vain.
So
means like you can't
I say the name?
God damn,
Can I say the name? According to the rules, not like
right. I was going to make a joke.
Just Jewish people can't say the name?
I don't know.
Okay, so listen. So in that footnote also, I saw that there was a note that said Hayah, Hayah. Hayah. And now...
Hayah.
Now, I was thinking something different. I was thinking in Native American cultures as depicted by...
Hayah.
Yeah.
That's racist, by the way.
I said as depicted by... I didn't get to finish who was. It was not depicted by me. Traditionally, they've been predicted around a bonfire or something, doing the Hayah thing.
Powwow.
So, yeah. So I'm thinking, is that a play on the name?
No.
Okay.
Moving on.
I believe you. Because you were there. So, yeah. So his name's I. Tell him I am sent you.
Right. So here's another great part. So God is like... He remembers he's got to help the fucking Israelites. It's been 300 years. They've been suffering. He remembers he's got to help them. He appears in a fucking bush. He tells this guy he's never met, I'm recruiting you. You got to do this for me.
Yeah.
He introduces himself as Yahweh, right? And then he goes on and tells him basically oh, by the way, I know that the fucking Pharaoh isn't going to be down with this.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to make him not be down with this.
This is where it gets really confusing.
So it's like, well, if God hadn't intervened, would the Pharaoh... So I have this highlighted. So let me read this and then we can discuss, all right?
Okay.
So in Exodus 3, verse 19, God says, I know, however, that the king of Egypt will not let you go. He's talking about like, let my people go. Mm-hmm. I know, however, that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless compelled by a mighty hand. So I will stretch out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders that I will perform in it. After that, he will let you go. I will bring this people into such favor with the Egyptians that when you go, you will not go empty-handed. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, you know what? This is not the section that I wanted to read, but I'm pretty sure God did say that, like, I'm going to make it so that he doesn't want to let you go, right?
Right, so he was actually told, go back to the Israelite elders and tell them we're going to go into the wilderness for a 3-day journey and make a sacrifice to God.
Right.
And I was thinking, how the hell is a bunch of enslaved people just going to take 3 days off? Like, nobody's going to notice they didn't show up to roll call this morning, So Dufresne, you better be dead or dying in that cell. But then he goes on to say that, once you got to convince the Pharaoh. And then I'm glad to see the resurfacing of the God hands, though.
Why? What's he doing? What's he doing with the bush?
No, he says, I'm going to reach out with my mighty hand.
Oh,
we haven't seen that since the bathtub, right? In the flood, when he sinks his floatables in the bathtub.
Yeah, the mighty hands haven't been around for a while.
Yeah. So it's good to see them again.
Yeah, like God hasn't been that active. Well, again, he completely forgot about these people. Like this whole section starts with him like being like, "Oh fuck, that's right."
Yeah. So he says you're not going to leave empty-handed,
right?
Which means what? Just I'll say it since you're looking at me.
I don't know.
It means basically he's going to, like, all the Egyptians are all of a sudden going to like the Israelites and say, here, take whatever you want. Take our stuff. Take our stuff. Well, so they Jedi mind trick the entire civilization.
Well, that's sort of what Abraham did. Remember Abraham when he was in Egypt originally and the Pharaoh took Sarah because he thought that they were brother and sister, which they wound up being. And then he was like, fucking, after he found out, he was like, yo, bro, I don't want I don't want your wife here. Take your wife and fucking leave here and don't come back. And I'll even give you like shit so you can like go.
Yeah, you're such a pain in the ass. I'm going to pay you to leave.
All right, so they're not going to leave empty-handed, so they're going to
plunder the people is the word they use.
Yeah, they're going to get some
pirates
shit.
At like some surfside town back in the day.
So...
Well, it would be the future for them.
So this is Exodus 3. Is there anything more that goes on in Exodus 3 before we go on to Exodus 4?
All right. We're like over an hour at this point.
So in Exodus 4, Moses is still like, yo, man, no one... Because Moses, by the way, he's the most rational person so far, except for the murder and the fucking, like all that. Like, he's been the most rational person so far because he's like, yo, man, who the fuck is going to believe me?
Yeah.
No one is going to believe me.
He lacks confidence.
Yeah. So God, God's like David Blaine. Or like David Copperfield.
Yeah, definitely.
He's basically like an illusionist, So God's like, all right, I'm going to teach you some tricks. And this is going to prove that I exist. Okay. So he's like, throw down your staff. Moses throws down his staff.
He pulls down his pants.
Not that staff.
Sorry.
Empty your sack.
Got some sack. Well, next week's episode.
So he throws down his staff and it turns into a snake. Yeah. Then he's like, put your hand into your robe. And when Moses does it and then pulls out his hand is like white. And it's like described as like leprosy or something.
Yeah, but the footnote also said it was just it could be any skin disorder. It wasn't specific.
All right. So his hand got like
fucked
all
up his
jacked
hand.
up. Right.
Yeah. Do you think it was that hand?
I hope not.
Yeah.
And so, well, maybe the other hand, it'll feel like it's a different person,
I guess. It's just awkward.
So, after those first 2 tricks, he's still not convinced Moses that it's going to work. So God is like, well, you're going to take some water from the Nile, and when you spill it on the floor, it's going to turn into blood. So basically, he teaches him a couple of tricks to convince Pharaoh that he indeed is a messenger of God.
Yeah. But Moses still complains.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because he's
a simple man.
He's self-aware.
Yeah,
Moses is self-aware.
Which is nice. He basically tells God that, I don't speak too good.
Yeah.
So, like, people aren't going to listen to me because my English not be so good.
Right. It's kind of like...
Or Aramaic or whatever.
It's kind of like if God came to Scott and he was like, I need you to be my messenger. Scott, if he was self-aware,
I'd be interrupting him so much, I wouldn't get the message.
I'm not really that good of a speaker. And God would have been like, all right, I'll get Rusty to, like, help you out.
Right.
Like one of those things.
Right. So then I would say, so God, so you want him to lull them to sleep with his long, drawn-out stories?
And God would be like, well, because you're going to be around, they're only drawn out because he can't get 3 words out without being interrupted.
I'm going to give victory to you on this one and then move on. Well played.
So, God tells him, Moses, don't worry about it. I know you're a little buffoonish. I know you're not like a great speaker.
I'll be up in your mouth. Don't worry.
Yeah. And we're going to recruit your brother. We're going to get Aaron.
No, not at first. First, he's like, I'll be up in your mouth. And he's like, that's still not enough. And he's like, please send someone else. And then he was like, bring Aaron with you to do the talking.
All right.
So I have to say this. Like, why recruit a second person? Want to go, Moses, get the fuck out of here. Let me go talk to Aaron. Like, why do you need the puppet? Like,
God is not efficient.
No, but
and by the way,
he's got all the time in the world, right?
And as we're going to find out in the next sentence, it's almost like God doesn't read anyone's resume when he hires them. You know what I mean?
I was thinking about resumes earlier, and I was thinking, to get back to the post office thing, I'm like, do you think someone's desk is just full of slabs of resumes? And it takes forever to go through them because you almost need a forklift to move them?
When? Now? Or
no,
then? Then?
When
in the Egyptian times?
Yeah, when they were on, everything was on a slab.
What kind of resumes would they have, by the way?
Shepherd. Well, you can't be a shepherd, right? They didn't like shepherds. Shepherd, cupbearer, baker. Yeah, like what
Gilder. Is there a gilder?
I don't think so.
No.
That's like metal work, right?
Who gilds? No, like, like they had those fancy, like, gold-plated chalices.
Yeah, gold's metal, man.
So what would you be? Not an armorer. What's that called? A goldsmith? What the fuck are you laughing at, man? I'm asking.
I don't
know.
So
wait, is this...
I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry you're laughing that it's so ridiculous because like 3 episodes or 5 episodes ago, you were asking me what a fucking team of oxen is called, and then you started going through like a list of all the animals that you knew. So I'm sorry that in this context, I had the audacity to wonder
I'm going to go with a raft of otters again. What were the oxen?
I forgot. Yeah. I already forgot. Yeah. It's a murder of crows, though.
Yes, which is crazy. Moses probably down with that crew.
It's a pod of whales.
Yeah. So bring Aaron to do the talking. So now Moses goes to Jethro. That's who he's... Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
It said earlier that the guy that said break bread and he gave his daughter, his name was Ruel.
Okay.
And then now his name
He was like a high priest or something.
Yeah, but now his name is Jethro. I'm sorry. If I think of Jethro, I think, Middle America.
Or the Hillbillies.
Yeah.
The Beverly Hillbillies.
So Moses goes to Jethro to say, you mind if I leave? I want to... Yeah, bye. Like, you just like, go.
Yeah.
Once again, nobody wants you, man.
And take that daughter with you.
Yeah. So they all go back to Egypt. And
so that gets us to Moses returns to Egypt. And this is the part where God like tells Moses that you're going to go to the Pharaoh, but I'm going to like put it in the Pharaoh's head that he doesn't want to help you.
Yeah, so now Aaron's doing all the talking, while Moses is playing with his staff. Look, it's a snake. It's a staff. It's a snake. It's a staff. My hand's got AIDS on it. And, no, it doesn't. Like,
what do you mean? They're not at the Pharaoh yet.
Fast forwarded. Sorry.
Yeah, they haven't even gotten to the Pharaoh yet. So the Lord just tells Moses, when you get back to Egypt, do all the shit that like I showed you. Do like the stick trick, do the fucking hand thing, spill some fucking water. But I will harden his heart so that he will not let the people go.
This is where it gets really confusing. I'm like, why am I fucking bothering then?
Well, because God again is trying to figure out a way where he can justifiably kill more people.
It's all saving face. It's all like, yeah.
God starts with the premise, fuck man, I haven't killed a whole bunch of people in a long time. How do I get to the point where like I can cover up the fact that I'm killing people, like under the guise of I'm helping people?
Wait a minute. You said earlier that God taught him these tricks. I don't think he actually taught him. Like he's just going to do the tricks while like God's going to control the tricks.
Right.
Like how do you teach somebody to do that?
You don't. I was just, I was
because magicians don't reveal their secrets.
Well, you're revealing all of my tricks. I mean, I'm trying to make jokes here, and you're on the air like trying to find logic in jokes, and you know how funny that always is. Like when you break down jokes for like the logic.
All right, move on, man.
No, I don't want to move on. I don't want to move on.
You are going to be a bad mid-season replacement, man. Keep it up.
I've taken a heel turn in season 2. And so God tells him, you're going to tell the fucking Pharaoh, the Lord is like, Israel is my firstborn son. And he told me that let my son go that he may worship me. But you refuse to let him go. Now I will kill your firstborn son.
Time out. So he's trying to tell Pharaoh, he already convinced the elders that, well, who sent you? The Lord. What's his name? I am.
Well, he's not even trying to convince the Pharaoh yet. God is having this conversation with Moses before Moses has even left to go back to Egypt. He's like telling him, this is how it's going to go. Oh. This is how the conversation is going to go because I'm going to make the Pharaoh not want to comply with you.
So who's going to kill the Pharaoh's first son?
God.
God's going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It just gets so weird. I don't even understand my own notes.
So Moses is basically supposed to be like a mouthpiece for God. And when Moses speaks to the Pharaoh, it's like God speaking to the Pharaoh.
Well, Aaron speaking to the Pharaoh.
Or whoever,
Moses
right.
juggling on a unicycle.
Okay. So God gives him all these convoluted instructions, right? God needs like all these middlemen. It's like it's like a union, man. It's like all these like extra fucking parts that you don't really need.
Yeah. Got to keep it moving.
No,
keep it reworking.
Listen, union proud.
We all benefit.
So Moses sets off. And this part now gets super fucking funky.
Yeah, I couldn't follow it.
All right. So what do you think happens? So he's on his way with his wife and their child. And he's going to Egypt.
Yeah, and is this when the Lord shows up and tries to kill someone?
Yes.
Who is he trying to kill?
Okay.
Moses' firstborn?
So you're asking questions. What do you understand about this part?
What didn't understand.
You didn't understand.
You remember when you first came over tonight? I was like, dude, you're going to have to like work out this last section.
Okay.
Because...
So let me read it to you because I have this part too. Mm-hmm. On the way...
Are you reading the right passage this time?
I copied and pasted. So it's Exodus 4, verse 24. On the way... Meaning when Moses and his wife and child are heading to Egypt so Moses can meet up with Aaron and then they confront the Pharaoh. On the way, at a place where they spent the night, they meaning Moses and his family, the Lord met him, meaning Moses, and tried to kill him, meaning Moses.
Why?
Okay. But Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and touched Moses' feet with it, and said, truly you are a bridegroom of blood to me. So he, meaning God, let him alone. It was then, she said, a bridegroom of blood by circumcision. What's not to understand, Scott? It's very simple.
Okay, wait. Oh, so she circumcised Moses?
No.
See, it's simple. I have no idea what this going. Their son.
Yes.
But it goes back to your question: was Moses ever circumcised? Because he came up Egyptian, not Hebrew.
Right.
So, okay, one, why did God try and kill Moses? Let's start there.
All right.
Just say you don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not answer fast enough?
No, not at all. That was a long. Like I'm looking at the waveform on the computer screen. Yeah, that was a long.
I'm trying
line.
to figure out a way to explain it because I don't know if that's the question that we start from. It's almost like we have to work our way backwards.
So you're question pleasing me?
So what happened? So God is trying to kill him, and Moses' wife takes a flint to cut off her son's foreskin. How does she know that God is trying to kill Moses, where she starts going to circumcise her child? Like, is God in the room with them and God's like fucking choking out Moses? Okay. Is Moses like having a seizure?
No, my question still stands. Why is God trying to kill Moses? Forget where he is, what he's doing. Why is he trying to kill Moses?
Why did he stop killing Moses? At what point does he stop and decide not to?
When his son gets circumcised.
There you go.
So God realized, like,
this is
you're
again
not answering my question. So you're dancing around the question.
So man. This is the point at which I asked, like, does God check people's fucking resumes or not? So Moses is on his way to like Egypt. God's already recruited him, and then God's like, "Oh shit, I forgot to check whether his son's circumcised or not."
I don't even know if you know
because
sign
there's
language.
A covenant.
It's the whole sign language thing. Like nobody checked the resume. All right. Okay, cool.
Right.
You could have just answered the question instead of like asking me more questions, making me look more ignorant.
So really, it's crazy. Like he's already sent Moses. He's already chosen Moses. He's already instructed Moses. He's given Moses like all of these tricks that he's going to be able to do. And then when Moses is on the way, he decides he's going to kill Moses.
Gotcha. All right. So since you have a firm grasp on this, can I continue asking questions?
Yeah.
Okay. He tried to kill Moses?
So that was my question. So what do you think, like what form did it come in? So I'm assuming God doesn't just show up in the room like a ghost and Zephora is like seeing God in the room.
Maybe it's like a wolf or like a
it could be a million things, right? But I'm gonna assume like
scorpion.
Maybe it's like he just starts having a heart attack or a seizure. You know?
Oh, okay. So
like
wait a minute. But
an epileptic attack or something.
Well, I have not come to terms with the fact that God's all powerful at this point. I'm thinking he can kill one person. I mean, he wipes out cities, he causes floods. So what could God have sent? So did he like send like let's say like a scorpion, and it just wasn't up for the job? Because he wanted to have plausible deniability. He didn't want to show up and just kill him because, like, here he goes, God's killing people again. Like, how did he fail at killing Moses?
I don't think he didn't fail. He decided not to.
Because
so he let him alone.
All right, so Zipporah. All right.
The real question is,
I'm just thinking if God wants you dead, like, there's time to, like, react and, like, pull out a flint and cut off like a foreskin.
Not just that, but how would she know that this is what she's supposed to do in that situation?
Maybe they were laying in bed the night before and goes, "Yo, God asked me to do this shit," and she said, "You know your son ain't circumcised. You think he ain't gonna find out?" Nah, he's too busy. He's not gonna find out. Maybe it was disgust, and she was like, "I told you so," and she's reaching for the flint. And the flint sounds like the grinding wheel accident I talked about many episodes ago. Like this, like
I don't remember.
Like the first circumcision. Like how did it happen? Like,
oh, gross.
So getting with a flint, like that's like a rough stone.
And by the way, it seems like everyone knows how to circumcise people. Like, where did she get this skill to know?
Oh man,
is it that simple?
Oh, it had to be rough. A flint is just like a rough stone. Like
this is crazy.
Causes the fire, so she grinded off the ground.
You know why God probably stopped killing fucking Moses? It was because of the screams of the child. God was probably like, "Oh my God, it's fucking loud in here.
You people are fucking crazy.
A fucking lord can't even commit murder."
Okay, so now she throws the foreskin on Moses' feet.
Yeah.
So does that now endow him with not immunity from God killing him? Like what's?
So this part, I have no idea. I don't know why she had to touch Moses' feet with it. I don't know if feet is metaphorical for something else. If feet means feet or feet means something else. Could it just touch
his sandal, or it actually had to physically touch the skin of his feet?
This part, man, your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, and then she says you are a bridegroom of blood by circumcision.
Yeah.
All right. My question.
Yeah.
Bridegroom.
Yeah.
That's a groom, no?
Yeah. He right. It's her husband, bridegroom.
Okay. So I'm going to translate it to real English. So you are surely a husband of blood by circumcision.
Yeah.
So what?
Maybe she means the fact that her child's bloody foreskin touched him. In effect, he too is now circumcised. I don't know.
Oh, so maybe he's not circumcised. Yeah. Yeah. All right. He's circumcised by association now, right? Through osmosis.
Right.
He's circumcised by osmosis.
And God was like, "Oh, cool, that's all I wanted."
So if you get hit by a bloody foreskin, you're circumcised.
Well,
it's like a...
We live in New York. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, gross. It's like honorary circumcision.
Yeah. It seems like it.
Well, who the fuck are you to talk about circumcised? Yo, I got hit by a bloody foreskin once.
This could be one of those field commissions, when you're at war and your commanding officer dies and they elevate the sergeant to an officer, but it's not a real officer. It's only right.
You're the lieutenant now, and he goes,
yeah. So based on the circumstances, she circumcises the kid and touches Moses' feet with it.
God's like, peace out, I'm out, all right, have fun.
Right.
Moses and Aaron go to see the elders, right, because they haven't even gone to the elders yet.
Well, first, God tells Aaron, the Lord said to Aaron, go into the wilderness to meet Moses. So God's also talking to Aaron, by the way. So it's not like God's just talking to Moses, because he told Aaron, go and meet Moses.
Do you think Aaron was like, so why is Moses the clown coming with me? And God's like, dude, man, I already fucking promised him. Just make it work, man. I don't want to hurt the guy's feelings until I try and kill him.
And by the way, Aaron is an Israelite. But wasn't Moses' entire story that his mom had to hide him?
Oh shit! Aaron's his brother.
Because they were because they were killing all firstborn males.
So how did Aaron come around?
Who the fuck is Aaron? Right.
And why does he have a chain of electronics and appliance stores all over New York? Think that's the same Aaron?
No.
It's probably my Revelations list.
It's probably his grandfather or something.
Well, I mean, he's an Aaronite.
No. So I don't know where the fuck Aaron came from if males were being killed.
Yeah, so Moses and Aaron go see the elders, and it was good. They believed them.
Yeah.
We're going to go on that. And that's where we're going to leave off, man.
That's it? We're just going to end abruptly like that?
Yeah, because they went to the elders, basically said, yo, here's the plan. Not coup d'etat, revolt. We're going to walk into the wilderness.
Well.
And dun, fade to black. It's cliffhanger. It's a cliffhanger.
All right, so I'm assuming.
Oh, shit. You saw last night's episode? Next week's going to be crazy.
So you think they're going to meet the Pharaoh in the next section?
They're going to have to get permission.
Because I have not read it. I've just read up to Exodus 4. Have not even read past it.
Nice. I like when you do that.
Yeah. So I'm going to...
That's good. You should definitely look at what we're supposed to be reading next after the episode. Yeah. So you don't drop your little, look how smart I am, how much knowledge I have, how stupid Scott is. Scott's playing by the rules.
I don't have to read one chapter ahead to do that.
All right. I'm gonna sign off by saying peace.
Peace out. See you next time.